All right. How's everybody this morning? Good morning. Hey, Patty. 65 and overcast in New Jersey. It is, what is it? 53, I think is what it is. Yeah, 53 out here this morning. So one of the things we deal with in the desert, low 50s-ish, maybe mid 50s in the summertime overnight. And then during the day, anywhere from 90 to 105, 110. So a huge swing. Hey, good morning, Steve. Yeah, huge swing out here. And so this morning we got the hoodie on because it's a little chilly, but had this been yesterday or the day prior, it would have been, I don't know, 75 and nice in here. So it's a little bit crazy out this way. But we got the garage clean. You can see that. Made a lot of space back there for all kinds of things. So shifting stuff around, sold 2 more printers this week. So we're slimming things down, making room for builds like the RatRig and maybe some other stuff. So out with the old. When I say old, I mean like 3, 4, 5-year-old printers that still technically work, but are sort of being superseded by newer projects and more interesting things. I can't keep everything as much as I would like to, so they're going to a good, happy home. Good weather for boosted cars? Yes. Yes. What are the brown filament boxes? Those are filament boxes, but it's Sparta ABS. So if you've ever checked out Sparta 3D, that's what that would be. Holy Christmas, look at that. What just happened? You guys don't need to see me that close. Let me make sure we can turn that off because I don't know why I did that. There we go. Take you back out to something normal. You don't need to see my pores. Turn that off. But that's sorry, that's Sparta 3D. That's a Canadian filament company. I ordered, I don't know, one of every color that they had twice, and that's basically what I have left there now is 8-10 kilos of their stuff, and we got some ambrosia up top. There's more ambrosia somewhere else, and then over that way is a rack of Polymaker. On this side, I've got a bunch of Fusion and PETG. Up above, I got all my PLA. There's probably 50 spools up there on the wall. Ooh, man, chilly. Northeast Hudson County. First printer was built with Sparta, same. So my green V2 is built with Sparta. It is their Sparkle Purple. I forget the name of it, but it's very similar to Galactic Grape if you have access to Ambrosia. And then Sparkle Cloud Gray, I believe it is. Yeah, Sparkle Cloud Gray. I've got some of that here. Move that down just a little bit. Well, cool. We last time we were here, we left off doing electronics on the RatRig. I think we got some motor wire going back to the electronics box. We built that box, attached it to the back of the machine. We got the back panel on. So a lot of progress there. What I did yesterday was spend about a little more than 7 hours out here, almost 8. Wiring everything. I tried to go back and count the number of crimps and cuts and labels that I made, and I just kind of gave up. I didn't really want to pursue that too much. But what we did yesterday, and I'll turn you guys around to see that, is we finished up basically all of the wiring in the electronics box. Again, we'll make this just a touch smaller so we can see what's going on here. But you like that. All right. So you can see that all of the wiring was shortened to be able to fit, so we don't have any excess excess wiring in here. We labeled everything. Some labels I already had, others I had to make. We added a Wago mount to the side of the PSU to be able to have 24-volt access pretty easily. The original way that RatRig wanted me to do this was to run power cables from the tool heads all the way back and down to the PSU, and then use 4 terminals on here. I'm not against that, and they provided enough wire to be able to do so, but I just thought it would be easier to maybe not do that. All right, this camera's having a hard time focus today. There we go. So I thought it would just be easier to put it right here. And then I'm only using 3 of the ports. I have 2 open ports for 24-volt access if I need a thing, which is pretty great. Looks damn good. Thanks, man. It was a lot of work. So tool head wiring was probably the most painful out of everything. This motor stuff just kind of goes into the cable channel here, locks in. Your high voltage and 24 volt is kind of separated. So high voltage over here, and we'll put a panel. I'll show you the panel. We'll put the small panel here. And that'll cover that up so no fingers get inside. We decorated it with a little bit of personality. I did do the shrink tubes, yes. So these ones here are mine. These are ones that I had that are not shrink tube, but they are like sort of some like rubber type label. I bought those as a kit from a dude on Etsy. And they're more like the labels that you would see on a manufactured wiring harness. I really like those, but they don't account for everything. They are built for a Voron build. And so they have Z0 through 3 and only an A and B motor. Whereas on the RatRig, I needed a Y motor set. So Y1, Y2. I needed additional motor power and stuff like that. So the majority of those I made. The only ones I did not are these Z motors here and the X and Y or A and B motors here. Everything else I had to make. What else? Shortened up some of the wiring for the fans. Shortened up the wiring for the end stops and the part cooling fans. So that's here. The chamber thermistors, we had to shorten those down as well. Dad's garage says printing some matte PLA filament, having some extrusion issues, and feeding seems harder to feed at 215 than normal. I don't know that the fact that it's matte is a problem. I think it should be fine. If you can go a little bit hotter, and if that's a thing, you may have a partial clog in there. What were you printing before PLA? Yeah, whatever you were printing before PLA, there may be a little bit of that still in there, and that's probably why, unless your extruder or something is not crimping the filament appropriately. So yeah, this is kind of the wiring. The one thing I did not shorten and I had considered, yeah, GF ABS, you may want to purge some of that out, do like a cold pull on that or something, and then see if that's your issue. Sometimes that happens to me. One thing I couldn't shorten was the tool head wiring. So RatRig chooses to do USB versus CAN. And because of that, the USB cables that they provide are extremely long. One of them, this one here, is actually probably a little bit short. So that's why it's coming a different route than the other ones that went around and down. And then I looped up the excess over here as neatly as I could and kind of tucked it away. That cable is enough to go around the whole case and back around to the top. And so that wasn't the best. But I could cut that, trim that, solder on some USB-A ports on there, and then plug it in, and that would clean that up. I just didn't really think that would be I don't know, the nicest way to do it. I just didn't really want to solder. I'll be honest, I didn't want to solder. And then what you're seeing here is that mellow board that we talked about. It takes 24 volt in here direct from the PSU, and then it'll output 48 volt as long as you have the right jumpers in place. And we do have those. The other thing you're going to need is a cooling fan. I didn't have a 4010. All I had was a 4020. And I didn't want to go rooting around at a bunch of different stuff. So it's running a 4020. The problem with that is that adding this additional board will prevent the top panel from going on here. And so I have to do one of two things: either find a more low profile fan, or B, cut a hole in the top panel and just use this the way that it is with the fan sticking out. Not as nice, but it would keep the cooling in the way that we need to keep it. PLA is more abrasive than normal PLA. Sure. I had not heard that before. If that's a thing, I didn't know that. But yeah. So this is where we are. The hat we're gonna need. Number one, because it's IDEX, but number two, because we're running the VAOC, which you can see in the top left corner. We need to build that, get that installed. That's more wiring that's got to come into the case here. So I'm not super thrilled about that, but I didn't get time to do it yesterday, so we'll do it today. Has more additives. That does make sense to me. That it has more additives. I haven't heard that. Good morning, Captain Kern. Cool. So we can sit here and continue to stall, or we can get to work. And I think I'd rather get to work. So first things first, we're going to work on the VAOC. That's the one piece I didn't get done yesterday. And this is it here. This one, I've already printed the parts. I've had them printed for a while. The parts you need for my build is a little bit different because they use the MRW bed arms. So the CNC bed arms that we installed quite a few weeks ago. And so the instructions are the same, the way that it mounts, and the parts need to be different to accommodate. Oh, you have some of the Fibron going? Yeah, it is really nice stuff. I'm looking to build something else pretty quickly. That's why I did so much work yesterday to try to speed this along. This is week 8 of the same RatRig build, and I'm kind of wanting to be done with it. I want to use the machine. I want to get through it. So I'm going to have to put in some extra hours. I'm also leaving on Tuesday for another business trip, coming back on Thursday night. So I lose 3 days this week where I could have potentially got a little further ahead. Luckily, though, all of the week after, so the week after Mother's Day, starting the 12th, all the way through the end of the month, I'll be off. I'll be on vacation. So if we are unfortunate enough to not get the build done this week or next, then for sure I'll be getting it done with my time off. You wish you had something new to build? Build something new. Build something new. It doesn't have to be like a huge project. Do like maybe a bigger printable project. I've always wanted to build one of those printable jet engines. And that consumes quite a bit of filament and quite a bit of time. So maybe look at something like that. I mean, assuming that you have the filament to do it. Yeah, money is a problem. And the money's not going as far as it used to for all sorts of economic reasons right now. But I've already done this part. I put the heat sets in. I forgot to print these, so I did that this morning, probably 10 minutes ago, right before we started stream. And they have heat sets now as well. Rebuilding your 2.4, that's good. And a switch wire. That's something you can do though. Like, what do you mean you want to currently print in the Death Star clock? That's a good idea. It is May the 4th. Wait, so we got all of these parts. I got them laid out on the desk right now. And then we need to assemble the VAOC. This is part 1. kind of crazy. You get to part 4 before you start putting anything together. So I'll take you over there and we'll look at some of that stuff. See, we have all the parts here on the desk. It's everything that we should need. Hopefully I don't have to print any more parts. I got a little distracted with this one this morning. So one thing that wasn't clear to me is if these are printed from clear, transparent or translucent PETG. And I've heard through Discord and some other places that it should not be as transparent as you would think it would be because you don't want too much light. It just needs to sort of be diffused. So I'm wondering, should I have printed this in white ABS? And I have some white ABS around. I just wasn't sure how that's supposed to go. So if this does not work, I may end up reprinting this part and I'll update you guys as necessary, but we're gonna roll with what we have. It wants us to open one of these Chicago bolts. We need the female side, so it'll be sort of that portion there. Put the male back in here. And then we need a spring. Like that. And then here's the spacer. And the way it goes is this side. Put spacer in, spring on top of that. And then that's not going to stay together, obviously. But your Chicago bolt goes through. And then this goes inside of there like so. If you turn that over, you're gonna knock it out of there. So make sure you're keeping your finger on it or something so that it doesn't disappear wherever it happens to be. The hotter you print translucent PETG, the clearer it is. Yeah, this is pretty transparent. I don't know how well that's coming up on camera right now. I can't see the same view that you all are seeing, but that's pretty transparent to me. So if I were to do, let's see, this pretty bright, put that underneath, you can kind of see through there. I want to say that's only one layer deep on the top. Pretty clear. Yeah, I have a profile in Orca Slicer that is hot, very slow, and I've optimized the walls for the maximum clearness just using CNC Kitchen's guide. And I played around with that and did a few tests to tune that in. And so the absolutely transparent, or the most transparent I can get, profile is already done. This one I just used RatRig settings. I needed it to happen fast, so I threw it on the H2D this morning. Hey Martine, good morning. PETG glass profile, yeah, I use that for stealth burner and other LED diffusers on tool heads. I did not use it for this one. This is just standard my RatRig profile that I've printed all my parts from. I just use the same one for these. I got lucky. The bottom is only one layer, or it possibly is two. It looks like one to me. Rob C, good morning. You also print with translucent ABS? I don't know if I have any of that. Yeah, I don't think I have any translucent ABS. Usually on the box are so clear you can read your watch. No, that's great. That's great. You'll have to share the profile, man. That's pretty cool. No, Rob, you got to try it, man. It's awesome. Now imagine if like you're saying you have the translucent ABS, and imagine if you were to make an entire printer with those settings, translucent ABS, it would take forever for sure to print all those parts because you have to print low and slow. But at the same time, it would look badass. All right, 16 screws go through. That's these. Those are 12s, 45s, 40s. There's 16s. Hey, PD3D, good morning, sir. We're almost through all of the electronics. We're wrapping up the, what is this called? The VAOC right now. I'm just going to call it the VAOC. That's so much more easier to say, VAOC. I'm going to just clear out some of the holes. PD, I'll show you the electronics here. We just finished those up yesterday. It took me about 7 hours to get through everything because I wanted to really shorten everything up. But this is what we're looking at right now. So this is tool head. This is all the electronics in here. The only thing missing is obviously the bed wiring. We still need to finish up. So one wire over to the SSR and then one wire up to the PSU. So we'll trim that a little bit. I need to trim down the thermistor. So this is a little bit shorter. And then we need to do the VAOC over here and get that installed. And so that'll be more wiring coming through this port right here where the Z motors come in. Next printer, translucent ABS with programmable LEDs. Rob, I would love to see that. I know you don't stream, but I would love to see that, like at least a video on the Discord. That sounds amazing. Print a whole FDM printer. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Formlabs. I don't know how resin does on 3D printers, though. This is the part we're on right now. But an entirely 3D printer, I don't know how that would look or work. Would it be strong enough? Really not sure. Hey, look at you with your, what's that called? Happy turtle leaf something? I forget the last one. Oh, actually, these go through this way. I almost did that backwards. So 16s through the holes and then in stop on this side, sort of like that. Leaf. And then this goes together with the that's kind of ingenious. There's a pin on this side to hold the end stop still. We're going to put a cover on top of this. That's why the screws are in. And then you only have one screw through this side here. And then when the Chicago bolt triggers, it makes the end stop trigger. Didn't read your whole message. Yeah, I never read the whole message. Tanner, dude, man. Trying to work. Lettuce feeder. Thank Captain Kern. No, I didn't. I missed it, man. It moves quickly, and I'm doing stuff. So feel free to say it in there too. They made hammer. Yes, I saw the hammer that Joel was playing with on his feature of that stuff, and it seemed fine. How does it work over time is what I'm asking. I don't know. I'm not a resin guy. I don't say that to, you know, poke you in the eye or anything. I just honestly, I don't know how that would work for a printer. Okay, so that and that goes in there. At least this is a pretty simple, straightforward build. And then if we look at what the parts are, we're back over here, step 8 now. Happy turtle lettuce feeder. Chube and VAOC can be annoying to get right. I'm not around when you get to calibration. Feel free to message me. Yeah, we'll do, man. I appreciate you. We'll see how it goes. I think we might get it. We're definitely going to get it installed today. Whether or not we're able to start the calibration process today, I don't know. I think this is the last thing I need to do. So maybe in like the next 30 minutes or so. Watching the little one. No, it's good, man. Thanks for being here as much as you can. How's it hold up the high temp? Does it creep? Yeah, that's the part I don't know, Nick. Okay, we have all of those parts for sure. And then now we're just on to step 5 here. All right. We got that guy like that. I need some electronic stuff. This thing. I love it. It's a bag within a bag. RatRig definitely likes to use their plastic. So this is the camera side of it. There's a board and a lens. And then there's a ribbon cable that connects the two. Come on. So there are those parts. This is the cable. Just gonna rip this and throw it on the floor. Gotta stress test it somehow, right? Yeah, I was looking at this and I noticed that I have 2 packages of these. I think the other one is for the tool changer I want to build. This one was with all of this stuff and it was labeled, so I chose this one instead. The other kit I have is the exact same setup as this, with in stops and everything. So I'm not sure why I ended up with 2 kits, but I did. Keep my bagged items safe in a bag. Why? I don't know. I just don't like all the plastic. I'm conscious of that, but I should probably take the, well, can we leave that on? Take it off later? There's a small cover on the lens to, I guess, keep it from scratching. I think this goes like that. So white dot, top left corner, like that. Make sure it's all the way in there. And then, yeah, I can remove that later. So I will do that later. And then it has us do, what is this, the ribbon cable portion. So it's this way. And there's supposed to be a piece of foam on the back side of this connector. 1x8 millimeter adhesive 3M foam. And it says to cut it the exact size of that connector. So the exact size of this silver bit there. Both ends look to be the same. I mean, this has the dot on it. And there's a dot on here. So I'm wondering, like, do the dots match? I mean, they don't when I do that. The instructions say use the white dot for alignment. I'll show you what I'm looking at. Bagfinity. Yeah, Bagfinity. Yeah, so this is what I'm looking at here, and there's supposed to be a white dot right there. But the one that I'm looking at, I don't have a dot. Oh, it's very, very small. Okay. The very small white dot, you want to match the dots to the portion there. And there's a white dot on that as well. Wax coated paper bags work great. And sort of do an S shape. I gotta find some foam really quick and put that on there. Connect the FPC to the cam. Correct connector orientation. Align the small white dot on the cable with the white dot on the cam. Okay. I gotta find some foam. Foam. So this is all the foam that the kit comes with. There's enough in here to do the back panel that we already did, so we used a lot of this before, and then probably all the enclosure. I'm skipping the enclosure portion from right now until we get this thing printing. I don't want to be getting inside the machine while I'm still tuning, because if I need to work on it and take things apart, it's easier to do when the panels are not installed. Then we need a piece that is just the same size. I'm going to line that up the best that I can. Give that a little trim like so. Very small piece. And they give you enough foam so far to do what you got to do. $16 people here on a Sunday. I'm thinking too, like, so today is May the 4th. A bunch of nerds in this community, and so, like, how many people are doing Star Wars stuff today? I won't be. I've got to do, so we're gonna stream for a little bit, and then I've got to do actual work for my job, my day job. So I'll be doing that for a few hours. Morning, Jeremy. Dude, I know I sent you a picture of the electronics. I forgot one though. Forgot to do all this camera stuff that we're working on right now. So we're just building the nozzle cam that RatRig uses for alignment. It's how they line up their IDEX. And PD popped in and said that it was pretty finicky. Actual work is no fun, I agree. PD popped in, said it was pretty finicky, and that, I'll be honest, has me a little nervous. I don't want pain in my life. I'd rather things just work. I'm just trying to look at that and get it lined up and connected firmly. I think I got it. They should probably just have you do this before you put the camera in there. But that is what you want to do. I think I would do this outside of the part, and then that's going to make sort of an S shape like that. I think I would do that first, and then put it in here next, like that. It's just easier that way. And then with the S-shaped part, they just want you to, so this is the cover here. Again, mine looks a little different than the instructions do, so I'll show you that. This is what the instructions look like. The part that they have does not have the wings on it like that, like the part I do. But again, mine is a little bit different. The ribbon cable comes through the middle of the hole. And then I want you to put this secondary piece on there. What is that? No, that is incorrect. No, so this part is the LED module. Okay. That was hard to tell without looking at it. So LED module goes in. Just because the tube is longer. Ah, I see. Chicago bolt stuck up too much and the nozzle was hitting the side of it. Oh. Well, I would not know how to fix that, so I'm glad that you're here. Jack and Shop says work is a 4-letter word. Jeremy, if you need this mat, I'll send it to you. I got this one on AliExpress. It was only a couple dollars. LED module, then you put the cap on there, screw everything together. Okay. We can do that. Good morning, Happy. We have not employed all of your panels yet. Sorry, we're still doing the last little bit of electronics here. We're building the nozzle cam portion that aligns the nozzle. So I'm doing what they told me, put the cable through the middle, and then we're just making that sandwich. And I like that that's a tight fit. It kind of just friction fits itself in there to hold everything together. So that's pretty awesome. Everything except that end step. And then it said this other piece goes on like so. So again, through the hole. Oh, I did that backwards, upside down at least. So through the hole, like that. And then you make a nice tight sandwich. I'm not done yet. Could have finished your next Voron build? I doubt that somehow. I've seen the state of your anchor make. I don't know that you're finishing any more Vorons. This mat is just a silicone mat with pockets molded into it. Some of them are magnetic, like this one here. This circle is magnetic, so it can hold your parts. There are other, let's see, this part here is magnetic, so if you were to put your tool there, it'll hold your tool. I got this on AliExpress. It is, man, maybe like 2 years ago. I don't remember the cost of it, but it's a 550 by 350 silicone mat. There's a scale here, so in inches and millimeters, a scale out to 15 inches or 38 millimeters, correction, centimeters. And then you have like pockets here with numbers in there, so that if you're taking screws out, you can put screws in order that you remove them, and then reverse order put them back in. You got another magnetic section here and here. I really like it. You can wash it with dish soap. It's silicone, so it's sort of high temp and all that. You could probably get this on Rip AliExpress. You could probably get this on Amazon. I don't know. Coming back with a burn. Yeah, I'm one of those, man. I'm pretty quick-witted when it comes to things and stuff, and I'm definitely a smart ass. If you don't know that by now. May have them at Horror Freight. Maybe. I haven't seen them there though. I go to Horror Freight quite a bit. Look at that. There's a piece of foam right there. I didn't have to cut any. What are we doing? 3x12s right here. Better than being a dumbass. No, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So we're just going through here first with 12s. Better than being a dumbass. I'm putting that in the bank. Oh man, Petty got chat botted. I'll fix that. I don't think that's foul language. You're good. But I think it's funny that they called you out foul language. Amazon, 20 bucks. Love it. 3D&T, Dave, I'll get you a mod access here in a second. And if you want to post the link in the chat for everybody, that would help out a ton. Sorry, Streamlabs. Yeah, let's make Dave a trusted member for just 30 seconds, and he can post the link. If you get too squirrely, I'm gonna have Streamlabs kick you out. This one, yeah. All right, Dave, you should be able to post the link. Only 30 seconds. That's right. This is not a Jeremy 2-minute. You get a chance, and when you miss it 7 minutes later, you're still gonna win. That's not how we roll on this stream. All right, so I just did this portion here. We got to prepare all of these parts. They're prepared. Just putting things together, making sure that we align it correctly, matching up these small tabs. Adding the board in. Hey, thanks for the sub, Ron. Ron James. That's awesome. I knew a guy named John James. I thought that was a cool name, but I think Ron is just the same. It's way up there on my list. All right, plugging in a cable. Oh, I got a cable somewhere. Yeah, where's the link? Where's the link? You had 30 seconds. I should start a timer. Okay, so we'll do all that. Sprinkle Nips takes forever to build a Voron and takes forever to post a link. All right, this way. There's a notch in the vent part here. I believe that's what this is called, the VAOC vent. There's a notch here for the cable to go through. You just want that pointing up, and then the venting side of it on away from you. Cool. Thanks for the link. Appreciate you. Now you're not a mod anymore. Done. 30 seconds as promised. I keep my promises. Anyway, that goes that way, and it just sort of sits on top of here. But it had me put screws in, and I put them in the wrong place. So I put the screws here because I was talking and not really paying attention. Had bamboo on the brain. Yeah. Had that there. It needs to go in that receptacle there. We'll just move that really quick. Bamboo, take my mod status away. Yeah, this goes here. So one hole away. Happens all the time. So you'll be happy to know, though, that even with nearly 8 hours of crimping and soldering and shortening wires and everything else yesterday that we did, I only made one mistake. I only crimped one set of wires too short. So I cut them too short, had to extend them by like, I don't know, 30 centimeters. So not even, sorry, not 30 centimeters, 3 centimeters. 30 millimeters too short, and that sucked because I had already cut them. I had labeled them and they were good to go, but just slightly short. Man, I feel like that chat is getting crazy right now, the chat bots. All right, so that's that way. What's the claim speeds on the V-Core? Faster than everything you showed off on stream last night. I don't like how that part's fitting. It just feels like it's sticking out above, and you can sort of see it there. I feel like that should be flush. The photos show it flush, and for whatever reason, it's not. So before I break something, it's just not gonna work. Available in black. What, the matte? Yeah, I saw blue, which is what I got. I saw red. I don't remember if it comes in black. I would not personally want black. We're using black parts, we're using black screws, black washers and things like that. I feel like it would disappear and I would lose track of things in plain sight if I used a black mat. And maybe that's just me, but if you want to use a black mat, go for it. Even the T1 Pro is broken. My S1 is broken because I took it apart. It kept jamming on me. If it wasn't the nozzle exploding, so here's one of them here, it would sort of leak under this heat shrink black stuff is where the heat break goes into the heater. It's a round ceramic heater that goes all the way around to heat that up, and where that's connected is it would just leak from there. So I don't know if it's just not sealed well, designed well, whatever, but it would either leak right there, cause an entire blob to cover this, and you can see that if you go to my Instagram. I posted a photo of that one. It's also on the TikToks. So that was one thing. The other one is that the extruder, I don't know if this was a one-time thing. I only caught it once, but the extruder motor would get so hot that it would heat up the gears, which would then cause the filament to get soft, which would cause the filament to gum up the drive gears. And when that happens, then it when that happens, it makes it so that the filament sort of slips and then grinds, which gets more dust in there, which melts, and then really gums it all up, and everything stops printing. It's the S1 Non-Pro. 2 out of 5 working right now. Self-inflicted. Yeah, it's an S. I don't know what they fixed in the Pro version of it. I doubt that they had fixed any of that, if I'm honest. Yeah, I really don't know, because I don't have one. And honestly, I would be skeptical to even try and buy one at this point. Yeah, I was just looking at that to see like what I'm doing wrong, why this is not sitting flush, and I can't see anything that I'm doing wrong that would cause this not to be flush in there. Literally, it's as far down as I can push it in there. I'm putting significant amount of pressure on that to make it sit flat. Let's see if it works now. But yeah, the S1, I took it apart. I was going to rebuild the extruder into something else. Yeah, I guess that was the problem. It wasn't all the way down, the LED board. And I thought that I was going to rebuild the extruder using other better parts. It's just been a project I haven't had time to get back to. This RatRig takes up a lot of the spare time if I want to keep the stream on track. And so I have not gone back to that project. But I'm trying to redesign the effector so that I can use a different hot end and an LGX light. I'm just not very good at CAD, and I'd say I'm like mediocre at CAD. I can do basic stuff. I can remix parts or whatever, but like designing something from scratch hurts my brain and kind of maximizes the level of my skill set. Pro version got new mainboards, firmware, and better leveling algorithm. Yeah, that's all fine. I didn't have issues with any of that stuff. I've been running the open source clipper from, how do you say his name? Galooz. I'm sorry if I say it wrong. Galooz, I think is how you say it. I've been running his open source clipper firmware on my S1 for 4 months, something like that, 3-4 months. And it's fantastic. So I don't have problems with leveling or any of that. I've got problems with the hardware. The hot end leaks and causes a blob, or the extruder clogs because it's getting too hot. Your rear motor keeps sticking and shutting off. That is probably, if I had to guess, based on what I've seen in the Discord and online about these printers, that is probably the motor driver board. The S1 and T1 use what's it called? Closed loop stepper motor drivers, and they have their own boards. Yeah, 5160. Sorry, closed loop stepper motor drivers that are attached to the motors themselves at the top. Those things have, in some cases, burned up. In other cases, are faulty. And I believe if you reach out to them, they should be able to get you a replacement if you still have a warranty on yours. I do know that everything on their website, for the most part, is sold out. And that could be because they keep sending out replacement parts, and so they have no stock. All right, let me make sure how we're doing this right. So that goes on there. This connector points that way, which means, so, man, this is hurting my brain here. Hold on. I'm gonna be quiet for a minute and stop talking. Like that. Goes that way. This connects there, so go down. Okay. But yeah, from what I understand, they are having problems with their printers. So they keep sending out replacement parts, which means they probably don't have any in stock. And Dave, that sucks for all of us, because I would love a new hot end, And I would love a printer at work, but here we are. Okay, so that is that way. That is facing down like it should be. Okay. And then telling me to kind of click that into, well, why does theirs? All right, so this is what I'm looking at. They have the large chip on this board going to the left, but when I installed it this way, my chip goes to the right. Sent them an email 3 days ago, just waiting back. Yeah, you'll wait 3 weeks before you see anything, and they probably won't respond to you. You'll just get parts in the mail one day. That's what's been happening to me. I've had this printer since June of last year, so a year, maybe the end of May, and it has never been reliable in that whole time. I'll get a solid maybe 4, 5, 6 days a week of printing with it every day, and then it'll clog or blob or something, and then it'll be down until they send me a new hot end or whatever else. I can't even buy my own hot end. I would be willing to just do that, but the amount of money that I would spend on getting new hot ends to replace them every 2 weeks, I'd rather just rebuild it with a Chube or a Revo 6 or something like almost anything. I think that Fadis Next G fiber hot end is small enough and high flow enough to work perfectly in a machine like that. But then how do you design and build that? And that's the rabbit hole I'm going down, is what hot end is small enough to go in there? And then how do I design that so that it's easily printable and all of the things? And that's where I'm stuck. So I know that folks have offered to help and things like that. It just hasn't been a priority for me. All right, let's figure this out here. That looks correct. The routing of the cable looks correct. You're catting a tool head as we speak. It's not easy. Yeah, I sort of get like halfway through it happy, and then I start second guessing myself, and it doesn't bode confidence. So I just end up sort of restarting, like deleting everything and starting over because I don't like the way it looks, or it'll run into something. I get frustrated. I don't know. I just don't have like a design language that I prefer, I guess. So I don't have standards as far as, oh, every hole will be this size and I'm only going to use this length of hardware and whatever. And maybe I should have those things, but I don't do a lot of this. Okay, now that looks correct. All right. So we got it correct. I had the board connected in reverse. This is correct. You want that port on the same side as your end stop and as the same side as this channel, because the USB cable is going to plug in here and it needs a place to exit. So that needs to align. There's a small indent here on both sides of the part that accept the board. And so if you have it correct, it should sit in there and be pretty flush around the edges. Then it wants us to plug in the cable. We have the cable here. What can I use to hold this down with? Let's use this stay. Yeah, that ribbon cable wants to make the board sort of pop out. So we'll use that to hold it in place. Happy, what tool head are you modifying right now? What printer? More plastic. And look at that, more plastic. All right, this is the cable we want. I'm probably going to leave this cable tie on here, or twisty tie. I'm going to leave that on there to sort of manage some of that, but I do want some slack on it. You're a little Cletus. Oh yeah, you are working on the Cletus. I remember that machine. It was like a dual extrusion, quick swapping type color thing. It seemed interesting. But when I heard that the firmware and the proprietary slicer were mandatory, I backed off. And then thinking about that process on how there's quick swapping and stuff with the single nozzle and sort of like a dual channel. At the time, I remember thinking that there's no way that's going to work. So I'm sorry that you're having so many problems, but the problems you're having are exactly why I could not support that project, or did not want to support that project. Okay, so let's make sure that we're in there all the way. Try to keep things connected. Don't put too much pressure on the connections or the boards. Don't want those pulling out. And then this goes that way. Wiring goes down in the channel. And the way that they have the part designed is that secondary layer that we put in has sort of like a fork that pokes up. And the fork is right there. You can kind of barely see that on either side of the connector. It keeps the connector pressed in so you can't pull it out. But then also it allows a little channel for those wires to lay in. So make sure the connector is pushed all the way in and you're not prevented from pushing the board down flat based on these forks, and then put your cables in there like so. And now I can, not saying pull on this, but if you were to tug this or put a little bit of stress on there, you do have some sort of strain relief on the connector itself. It's not going to come unplugged on you. That's pretty cool. And then it just wants us to put the fan and stuff together, and we have a fan right here. Mark II, so single extruder. Oh, okay, single extruder one. So you didn't get the color swapping one. That thing, good. You made the better choice. Flashing mellow boards will make you it's not that the mellow ones are much different. They just don't document it well. And so trying to decide what process you should use or what settings you put in Clipper can be a little hard. This is probably the fan, something like this. That's pretty nice. It's a Sun fan. This looks to be a 4010. This is probably what I need on the 48 volt, so it doesn't stick out so far. But even with that, let me check real quick. I think even with a 4010 fan on here, it would still stick out past the cover for the electronics box. So my gut tells me regardless, I'm going to have to figure out a different solution. That panel is 2mm steel. I'm probably not cutting that with the tools that I have. I may need to just reach out to Happy and see if we can get a smoked panel for this thing with a cutout for that 48 volt. Too many spots. They have like 3 different repos for the same board. That's what I'm saying. There's not a unified bit of instruction anywhere that you can go to. Okay, so this is another bit of a sandwich. There are things we need to pay attention to. It says the small tabs on the printed part. I don't have tabs on my parts at all. And again, that's probably because these are different slightly than the ones RatRig recommend. However, there are zip tie spots here on this end of the part, and that should align with your end stop and the same area where your cable comes out based on what I'm looking at. So I'm going to do it this way and place those cable tie spots on there. This needs to face this way. There are like tabs that stick out. These tabs hold in that other board. So you want to make sure those tabs are down like that, and it holds that board in place. And then from here, we put a fan on. What I don't know is where those wires come out. It's not illustrated. I'm thinking they come out the same area as the rest of the cabling. That just makes the most sense to me because now I can zip tie those together and run them together. So I'm going to do mine that way for now. And if it does illustrate where they go later in the instructions, we'll tackle that. But right now I don't know. And then we need the M3x40s to hold all this together. Super nice hardware. Love the replaceable MOSFETs for the fan. Yeah, I love Mellow hardware as well. I've got their volt up board on this project right now. That's how we're getting 48 volts out of a 24 volt PSU. Somebody mentioned earlier in the RatRig Discord that they made a comment that they hope 250 watts is enough to run all the things that I'm running. And it made me second guess myself. I had not considered that before, but I ordered this kit as an IDEX kit. It was ordered as RatRig puts it out there, and they're the ones that sent me a 250 watt PSU. I would think that they would not do that unless it was good to go. You want some overhead on the power supply? I mean, I have a 350 watt. Here's the problem. This is what I was talking about with Boothie this morning, behind the scenes, is that the way that we assemble the electronics, all the electronics bolt to a 2mm steel plate. So that PSU from the back is secured to a steel plate, and then from the front, that steel plate is secured up against the back panel. So if I wanted to take this back panel or take this power supply off and replace it with a 350 watt, I have to remove the entire electronics box to get to the back side of that plate, just to take out the screws. But to take off the electronics box, I have to undo all the motors from the board. I have to disconnect all of the toolhead cabling and sort of run that back through so that I have enough space to pull the box off of the back panel just to access that. So it's not as simple as disconnect a Molex cable. I wish it were, but it's not. That's probably a good upgrade. We could cut these cables and sort of make a quick disconnect right there at the port for things that go to the toolhead, and then for the other things that go into the box. That might be a smart move. And then I could do that, but right now it's not set up that way. So if I wanted to put a 350 watt in there, that's a lot of work, a couple hours. And I have one. They're the same size from what I understand. I think I'm going to press the test, and if it's not enough, we'll go from there. I'll take you back to Chrome. We just finished up this portion here with the VAOC, and it tells us to go to the next step, which has us sort of put it on the machine. But it would leave you room for expansion later. I don't plan to expand, Dave. It's going to be what it is. This one is a build and leave it alone kind of build. There are updates you can do to a RatRig, things like adding a chamber heater. You can add a filter. I need to add some lighting to it. I have lighting. It's just not covered in the manual. It's going to be an add-on. So I'll work through that on the backside after we finish up the project. All of that takes a little bit of power. 5-volt LEDs don't cost you a lot. Stagger the heat ups. Well, so Rob, the bed is heated with mains power, so that should not come from the PSU at all, only to trigger on and off. But it's heated by the mains. So really the only thing running on the 250 watt are the 7 motors. So all 3 Y motors in the X, and then your 3 Z motors. That's it. Yeah. Raspberry Pi. And that's it. Well, yeah, your toolhead stuff. So the toolhead boards. That's it. So I think it's going to be fine. We'll see. Famous last words, right? Okay, so it's having us install this onto the machine already. That's great. I want to do that anyway. Put these last 2 screws in here, and then we'll move over to the machine. I got to turn that big Johnny around again. So I learned a new term. Dave, you'll appreciate this. The new term is big back. Big back. So it's in reference to an Instagram post I saw talking about these big back girls. I lost it, man. It's pretty funny to me. And so like I've been calling this the big back machine. Yeah, big back. And then you have small back. small bag grows. I think you can imply what those mean, but I was losing it last night listening to that. Big back and small back. I'll have to send you the post. Yeah, this machine is hefty. Daughter calls you big back when you eat the last piece of something. Mine has tons of personality. My youngest, my 6-year-old, tons of personality. It's weekly. She comes home with new sayings and things that I had never heard her say or thought about saying. You got a list of slang in your office to make sure the youngsters aren't talking smack? In my community, we also have our own terms and slang, and I try not to bring it in here because it doesn't translate as easily. So if I ever say anything, it's probably from work. Riz, skibbity, all the good ones, yeah. Yeah, I have a 15-year-old, so we do that stuff. You should ask your shop what's it called, a balulu? Ask them if they're bringing their balulus to work. That's one I learned Friday. Okay. Looking at the instructions, did that, and we need to put these long screws through the face into the bed arm, and that should hold it in place. Okay. I got to get this printer spun around, so I'll take you guys over to the toolbox. Sort of put that over there. Move these out of the way so we don't snag and tear them off. There you go. Stay. Whew. Heavy. Probably say a good 100 pounds here. Roughly 50 kilo, I think. That's what it feels like. 30-30. Sort of barely fits on there. Hopefully that's good enough shot for you all. I wish I had a big camera that I could kind of pull back and zoom in, but it's just not that kind of stream. What the hell is a balulu? Jack, I'll have you Google it, but in short, from what I understand, it's one of these dolls on a keychain, and the girls will connect it to their pants or their purses or whatever the case, and it's, I don't know, it's like this cute ugly thing. What's up, Iconic Fab? Bro, you're literally peak genetics, certified Riz, on God, no kissing. Sound like my daughter. All right, that's what we're looking at. You got two tool heads here. We need to move these sort of out of the way, so we'll go back. Got, and then this is going to install laterally on this bed arm here. What I didn't know is there's a plug in this arm already. I don't know what this is for, but there's a small square. I don't know if it really comes through on camera. There's a small blue square right here that's filled with a thing. It's a part. It's blue. I didn't know if it was supposed to be transparent like the other stuff, but this is, I printed it regardless, and we'll see how it works out. Some things you just don't want to search in your history. I don't blame you. I really don't blame you. I'm screwing around with this monitor right now. All right. You're gonna need a translation, please. Yeah, sorry, Martine. Sorry, man. If you need a translation, you'll have to go to Urban Dictionary. I'm not well versed on that stuff. But it's just like when we used to say stuff in the 90s. These kids, they have their own things now too. Sweet. So goes this way. Go to upside down from the way that we built it. Let me zoom in for you all. How would a teenager in the year 25 say, I'm the most handsome man on the planet? In slang. What is this, like Jeopardy? Camera is flipped. There we go. We'll go in about as far as we can here and show you what that looks like. I don't know how they would say that, Dave. Whatever length screws these are, I think they're 50s. They go through 2 holes on the back side here. That's the trans. Got it. I thought you were asking. I thought we were playing Jeopardy games. The holes go through like a hollow part and then come out the other side. So you got to make sure they line up and come out the back. It's not like a cylinder that they guide themselves through. You're just trying to line up 2 holes, one on this side, one on that side, and press through. Now let's find a tool. Looks good. Wish there was a better way to hold this in stop in there. It keeps falling out. And then I don't like that it would sit on top of anything metal there. Those pins are sticking out. Let's see. This goes this way. And I do not have... There are 2 holes here to mount the in-stop screws through, but I'm concerned that the in-stop's going to ground itself on the metal arm. And I'm not seeing any spacers or anything like that. Interesting. Okay. I guess it doesn't matter if you have plastic though. But that is the difference. What is going on with the chat box? Let me adjust that so it's not all crazy. All right, team, just 1 second here while we adjust. I don't know what happened there, but it is not the way that it should be. What is going on with this thing? I mean, it's on there. Just not what I wanted it to be. Just hard to read. It'll be fine. At least we have it captured in a way. The in-stop should sit right over the blue printed part. Yes, I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So, PD, I don't know if you're using the CNC bed arms. That plastic part is in place. What I'm seeing though is when this is the correct way around, these 2 screws go into the bed arm to hold this down. Those appear correct. There are these 3 pins here that are covered by that plastic part. These three pins are not. These 3 pins seem like they would be touching on the bed arm and short themselves. I don't know how to get around that. Other than to use this bit of foam and sort of insulate. And that's my first thought, is to insulate the pins. I wonder if vibration and things like that would cause it to do something. I don't know. Look at Dave helping the community. Now we have culture-fied Martine. Come on. I wish I had fingernails sometimes. Every time I have to peel tape or foam tape, I can never grab this. I always have to grab the tweezers to be able to do it. There we go. So I'm gonna just add this on there because I don't know what else to do right now. And that should sit in between the pins. I'm sorry, these screws. Hopefully keep that from touching anything it should not. So that's going to be my fix based on these bed arms. We'll see if that works out. Keep you guys updated. No, you don't. They go after you in the comments section for having them. Kapton tape for temp. Yeah, it's not going to be temperature exposed other than like chamber temps. So I don't want to do that. Plus, I don't know if I have any Kapton tape. Oh, I do. I do have Kapton tape. But yeah, I think it'll be fine. If you're using the bed arms, I think it covers both. I haven't had problems with it. It didn't look as good as you though. Sure. Yeah, so for me though, if I think you can still see what I'm seeing. When I put that on there, if I didn't cover those pins right there, they would definitely touch just outside of where the blue printed part is. I can see that because I'm getting pretty low on it and I can tell. But I don't know. It'll be fine. I think the fix that we just did will work out. I'm going to go with it. Temp fix, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we could do Kapton for temp. I like the foam. It gives me 1 millimeter buffer where the Kapton would just give me however many micron. So this will be a little more permanent. And let's be honest, Boothie, I'm not going to go back and change it. You know how I operate. It's on there. As long as it works, it's going to stay until it doesn't. If that means we short out an end stop, whatever, how much are end stops anyway, right? Oh, look at that. I was totally wrong. There's such a significant gap in there. That's what I was worried about. So there's a gap in here. So maybe I need to use the lower holes. There were 2 sets of mount holes on the side of this thing. I assumed that the upper ones were what I wanted. That's odd that they would have 2 sets of holes. We'll use the lower ones and see if that helps with what we want. PD, if you're still here, did you have 2 sets of holes? And did you use the lower holes? No, you said you were going to pop in and out. These lower holes close that gap. Because if I have the gap in there, when I go to tighten down the screws, number one, they probably won't reach. You only use the top holes. Okay. Yeah, but there was probably a 3 or 4 millimeter gap in there. And if the screws aren't long enough, if I use the top holes, and I would have to put spacers in there that I do not have. And so I would likely have to print something. Bottom holes seem to fix that. I wonder if that's because I bought these arms before they had them drilled for this VAOC. So I bought these bed arms pretty early before they offered this add-on. And so I had to send them back to Mandala to get modified. And I wonder if that's one of the modifications, that they had to drill extra holes for this. Yeah, so that actually works now. That one seems a little short to reach. The rear hole definitely reaches. And I can feel that tightening up. This front screw, the more forward of the two, does not reach. But how many do you need to keep it on there? I think one is good enough, because the other one doesn't want to come out of there right now. There it goes. Yeah, so that's a 16. I think I need a 20 just to make it reach. I'm probably gonna swap it out. Self-source most of your stuff, so it'll probably be a tad different. Yeah, well, you had a V-Core 3 before a 4 anyway. And I think I've read your, I think you did an interview with someone and they were asking you about your machine. I don't recall the details of it, but I know that I read that thing several times. You have a pretty nice setup on your 3. And then you talked about your 4 as well. So I'm just going to grab a 20, put that in there. And that is because there's a slope. Let's see if I can move the camera. That right there slopes down at maybe a 30-degree angle, and then it comes forward again. So the hole is drilled really right on that slope, which means the screw that you use in this forward hole needs to be a little bit longer to reach. I think a 20 is going to work for us. 18s are just oddball. Yeah. The 20 works and actually screws in, so now that's pretty damn solid. Wiring out the back as it should be, coming right into the location of where the Z motors go through. Oh, that's the other thing I needed to mention too. Z motors. What a pain. This is a V1 kit, so parts need to be V1. There were some subtle changes between V1 and V2. On V1, there is a hole. Move this camera. There's a hole. Come on. Right down here. So right there where you're seeing all of this wiring, there should be a hole right here. The DXF that I sent to Happy was for a V2 panel. The V2 RatRig has a hole in the base. So Z motors come from the base and can go up this extrusion. V1 come around the back and go in the same extrusion. I didn't have a hole in either spot. So I had to drill this hole. And then, because I butchered it so badly, I had to design and print my own grommet. My own grommet to be able to go in there. That's why it's blue, because I only have blue TPU. So a little bit of a screw up for me. And then I split the grommet so that it can sort of take up some slack and protect those wires a little bit. And then here I printed some 30-30 channel covers to keep the wire in there, other than just this little, whatever you want to call that thing, little clip to keep the wires. So it's a lot nicer than it was. I wish the grommet was green. I don't have green TPU. I don't even have black TPU. I've got this blue, I've got some pink, and then I've got orange. So that was another thing that we had to fix. Whatever. It's been a journey. Been a journey. Why are you doing this to me? Whoop. There we go. Are the holes for thicker beds? Sorry, Losing, I'm just getting to your message. Are the holes for thicker beds? They're not. I think it's because they were already drilled there prior to for an in-stop or something like that. Because again, these were original RatRig only, single 2-head only bed arms. It did not account for the VAOC that we're installing right now. And then when that got released later, they had to drill and modify my bed arms for me. What brand TPU? The blue one is 1 second. Let me come back to you here. The blue one is a company that doesn't make filament. I think they might have went out of business or got absorbed or something. It was from Filament One, if you remember those guys. I used to have their subscription box, and I subscribed to their maker kit, and it would send you some different styles of filaments. One of them just happened to be TPU. So Filament One, I think they got absorbed into some other company, but you can still do like the maker box sort of thing where they send you 2 kilos a month. The pink and the orange are both inland. So Micro Center TPU. One is translucent pink, the other is translucent orange. And I have 2 pinks, 1 orange. Saw a functional print dude compare SaneSmart and Bamboo. Sure, I have not tried Bamboo TPU at all. All right, so that's all installed there. Good to go. Take care not to over tighten. Yeah, we've been taking care the whole time. I also modified, you can kind of see in this location, there should be right there a bed strain relief tie down point. That's what that is. I modified it with a couple of Wagos. And that is, you can't really see it. I was going to turn the printer, but I don't know if I want to do that. Yeah, I put a couple Wagos there to make wiring a little easier. And if I need to take the bed off, it'll make servicing that easier as well. Cool. Prepare that stuff. Sorry, I thought I had to sneeze there for a second. I didn't want to blow your eardrums out. Excuse me. Yeah, so we already did this on the electronics box build. We put that hub hat on there, and that just allows for additional ports. One thing it didn't mention was how to power it. So there is a power port right there between the USB ports. It aligns with the power port on the Pi. What I chose to do was run 2 5-volt lines, a ground line, and a TX RX line to the pins, to the row of 40 pins there. And that should, assuming that it's a top hat and you're stacking things together like this, it should provide power to both the Pi and the additional USB ports that we have. I did all this using my own spacers because I didn't have those spacers in the box. We installed it like that already. Pretty intuitive. It says make the connections here. I've already done that during the wiring phase. And then down below, it tells us to do a single ground and 5-volt. I chose to do 2 5-volts because in my experience, having done powering the Pi from the board before, 1 5-volt line is not enough. So the pin immediately to the right of the red arrow is another 5-volt pin. And so that's what I did. So starting from right to left, bottom row, it goes 5-volt, 5-volt ground, and then should be RX, so receive, and then TX. Let me make sure I'm not talking out my ass here. Yeah, so green wire, RX, yellow wire, TX. So you'll have a 5-pin socket right there, or connector right there. And that's how I've done it. We can take a closer look at that if you guys want to. But what it does is provide you these additional 4 USB ports, which you're going to need for running the beacon, the additional tool head, the VAOC. That's 3 ports right there. And then if you want to run a camera, like a chamber camera, which I do, that's an additional USB port. So you're going to max out the ports on this. You might have 1 additional open port that you can use for a thing, but you definitely need this hub hat. It does not come in the kit. You're going to have to order it on your own from, I got mine from Amazon. It's not cheap. It's like 30 bucks for this thing. So make sure that you're budgeting for that. For more information, you could check step 72. Yeah, so this is how I did it. But I ran mine to the Kraken, which is a slightly different location. Same concept. Preparing the cables, we'll do that, measure things out. I think this is where we have to cut stuff, because that has a different connector. It did not give me a different connector though. We'll deal with it. And then we'll route the wiring after that. Okay. Through, and then right through where we have the motors coming in. Cool. Let's cut and strip some cables. Get the tools out. So tired of cutting and stripping things right now. You have no idea. Like almost 8 hours of this yesterday was enough for me for a while. Looks like the straight cable. Got it. Oh, it is already prepared, it looks like. One thing I wasn't sure about, this is reminding me, yesterday we were doing the Y-in stop. The Y-in stop just tells you to plug it in. It doesn't talk about what the different colors of the wires mean or where they should go on the main board. It just has you plug it in. And so I'm hoping, even though the in stops do look the same as the X in stops, the X in stops call it out. And it tells you exactly where to plug things in on the tool head board. And it will tell you what each line is supposed to go to. For example, 5-volt ground and signal. The Y in stop did not do that, although the in stops look the same. My smart brain tells me that I should wire them the same, which would mean I need to change the wiring on the Y in stop. But I wasn't directed to do that. So I'm curious. I'm very curious if that's going to work out. I also learned that the gantry doesn't touch the Y in stop. It's just a little bit far away. So I had to space it out by 4 or 5 millimeters with a couple of spacers so that it would trigger. This wiring looks correct. The length of it is very long. I hope I don't have to shorten it at all. But if we do, we do. Get rid of some of this. That is that. And then these can go over here somewhere. Okay. So I guess we can go right to plugging things in. Make that a little larger. Make that a little larger so that we can all see what's happening. This is what we're going to do. So this one here is the LED. So the orange cable for the LED. The red cable is for the camera itself. And that should be a long black cable. And then you have the blue one is your in-stop. They all kind of route together. And then don't forget that you do have a cooling fan in there as well. They don't specifically call it out, but you will need to route that one as well. They're only showing the 3. So we'll route those through. They'll come back and we'll make sure that things are in order. So they're actually calling out what it is here. And this is what I was talking about. So this tells me red is 5-volt, white is signal, and then black is ground. That makes sense in a lot of cases. So I need to make sure the pins are correct for that. But it did not do that. Hey Zims, it did not do that for the Y in stop. So I hope that wiring is correct. And it says connected to any available USB port. LED cable as shown. But what port do I connect it to? And then the Z in stop goes to the 3rd in stop. So that does make sense. Am I just connecting this to any 5-volt signal and ground pin? That's how I interpret that. I wish that was a little more clear. Connect the only problem is the USB connector is too big. It can't go through the hole on the back panel. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. Let's see, may have to disassemble from the wiring to make it fit. A bit frustrating. We're gonna make it fit. Probably, we should probably also set the matching jumper for 24 volt. Oh, for the fan? Yeah. Yes, that does make sense. I already know that I'm gonna have to go back and change some of that. So we'll be fine. Let's blow this up. Keep this open. Take you guys back over the workbench. We'll run things from the tool head back through the hole, and then I'll pick up the printer and we'll spin it around so we can talk about where to connect things and stuff. Okay, this is the pin here, so I'm gonna put the end of this through the port, the Z motors. And then pull this through, and you're not going to be able to see the back of this. There's no way to get a camera in here. Just trust me when I say I'm plugging this into the LED board here. If I can get it the right way around. There we go. So that goes in like that, and these will all kind of go together. I'm going to just zip tie them to the part for strain relief purposes. And then I'll get the fan in there as well. That's important. The next one is this USB cable. One of the commenters said that this is going to be painful to get it through the hole. I think that's going to actually be true. This connector is larger than the hole it's supposed to go through. So again, a misstep by RatRig there to not call that out and just run the wire through first before you start connecting everything. Yeah, that's probably not going to go through there. Let's see if I can take the grommet out. I can remove this and then put it back in later. Might be just enough room. Hold on, let's tell you what, let's take one of these out of here. Make some space. Hopefully you all can see what I'm seeing. Let me just double check. Okay, let's tell you what, let's move this down so you can actually see what I'm seeing. Hey Digital Dragon, good morning. That was a plan to retrofit on a running printer, having the bed out of the way look way easier. Yeah, we're talking about this hole being too small to take the USB cable, so you got to put this USB-A through there, and it's just small enough. Cool VAOC install, thanks. It's not my idea. This is a RatRig instruction, but I think it's needed for IDEX. Yeah, the what's it called? The molding, the plastic molding that's on the cable is preventing it from being small enough to go through the hole, especially when you have all the Z wiring and stuff in there. So realistically, like the commenter said on the Suzuki, probably should have put the small side through here first, but you got to disassemble everything to be able to do that. The other option is to trim down some of the molding on the housing of the connection. I don't really want to do that either. Man. Okay, well, we got to take this off and route that wire. That sucks. Where are my tools? Good thing is, it'll give us time to catch up on chat. What's up, Steve Machado? Good morning. You use the lower hole on your back panel? That might not be a terrible idea. But if I do the lower hole, let me show you. Move this down a little bit. I could use this hole down here. I could use this one. But this does not go into the electronics box. The upper hole does. And so with that in mind, it is just kind of difficult to do that. I would have to run it out, and then it would just sort of dangle up the back of the machine. It wouldn't be as clean. DM you a pic. Okay, yeah. So Zims, you got to be aware that I kind of screwed it up. This is a V1 machine. I should have ordered a V1 back panel. I did not. I ordered a V2 back panel, which means it does not have a hole. I had to drill this hole myself. And there is not a hole in the deck panel on this machine because it is a V1. So that may be a factor before you spend a lot of time trying to send me a photo. We're just going to do the right thing and take this apart. This is one of those things that happens when you're getting off track with what RatRig intended and you start to do your own thing. I did not pay attention when I ordered back panels, and I definitely did not pay attention when assembling this thing. I did not even consider that the hole would be too small. If I were a smart man, I would have ran all these wires yesterday. I just didn't get there. I think 8 hours of wiring is enough for anybody. I'm just going to take this part right here in place. So Zams, are you saying like you have a V2 and you have a hole in the deck panel? Is that what you're getting at? All right, we'll just take this apart really quick. It shouldn't be too terrible. Just a little bit of a sandwich right here. And that should give me access to that connector. This just should be definitely something that they call out in the manual. We're far along enough in this project being out there in the wild, and there are enough of these VAOCs in the wild that it should be incorporated in the manual by now. There should be an update. Especially since somebody called it out. I forget the date that they posted that comment, but it was a while ago. What are you doing to me? No, but I think I'm most excited to use this feature though. This is the coolest part about it, the nozzle cam having the nozzle alignment. I'm just making that automatic. That's something that the Bamboo Lab H2D just instituted when they released that printer. But I don't know if it uses a camera. I think it just does it by feel and touch. There we go. So that is off. For whatever reason, it just was giving me trouble there. We'll pull the board out, take the connection off, and then just run this through the back. So this is not as terrible as it could have been, but it's definitely avoidable if they would have called it out. It saved ourselves 5 minutes. Just run that through like so. All right. I know I spent a lot of time being a perfectionist yesterday and shortening things and labeling things. After that exercise in futility, not sure if I'm going to do that here. I may just run all these things and leave it as is. We'll get to it at a later date where we label and wire and all that stuff. Okay, all that together. Lost a couple screws, but that's okay. And drop those back in real quick. Oh, the end-stop sex bolt cable, it pinned differently on both ends. Yeah, so one has the Luke, one has the USB-A connection. The other has the very small, what is it, like a PH 1.0 connection for the little camera board in there. So that one fits through easily. We have to disassemble the VAOC to get to it. You have Funsor XY joint set and had to design custom X end stops to get the last bit of alignment. Huh. Yeah, I didn't get those. I'm just using the normal ones. I thought about getting those. I saw the Fistech ones. Hey, Pez Liz. Happy Star Wars Day. Thanks for dropping in. Trying to get through the last little bit of RatRig wiring here. We got to install this, whatever the hell this thing is called. Nozzle alignment system. Goes on like so. These go down here. There we go. Oh, the 3-wire in-stop cable. Yeah, that is also different on both ends. But that one should fit through. We already have that one here. That one should fit through. It's just got one of those flat, sort of flat things on there. You were here before I started? What? Thank you so much. You're always nice. Here we go. Yeah, so it's just got a different end here, and that'll fit through, no problem. Not worried about this one. It's tight-ish, but it'll get through there. What I don't know is how much slack I need, so I'm being careful to think about that, not paint myself in a corner. I did that yesterday with the tool head wiring. Because, yeah, like I was talking about a while ago, RatRig prefers to have USB tool head wiring. They do not use CAN bus. The USB is much easier and simpler to set up and all that stuff, and so I understand. It's also a little easier to set up with their RatOS software, and you just plug and play things. So for a lot of reasons, it makes sense. But I was setting that up, and you still have to run 24 volt in addition to the USB cable. So you end up with the same amount of wiring, well, kind of the same amount of wiring that you would in a CAN situation. CAN would need 4 wires, USB takes 6. So you have the 4 for the USB, and then you have the 2 power wires. So it's slightly less efficient, but it's easier to set up. And they do that, but I cut the 24 volt in the ground just a little bit short, like 3 centimeters short, and had to splice in 3 centimeters of wire yesterday. But out of 7 and some change hours of wiring, that was the only mistake we made, so it was pretty decent, pretty good. All right, back to where we started. What are we doing next? Got all the wiring routed. Are we just spinning this guy around to show it off? Yeah, so we just need to connect things now. Okay. Connecting things, and yeah, this is the comment that said it. That was in December. Yeah, in December that was identified. And I don't know. Here it is, May. Okay, we did that. I don't know how much slack I need, but it says zip tie to secure. We'll add a couple of zip ties, and then turn this big Johnny around so that everybody can see what's going on. What does this guy say? Check where it's being placed on the cable. Has full insulation, then shrink tube, then individual, and the natural fit. Put 1 zip tie on the individual wires and the other zip tie on shrink tube. When tightened, this causes abrasion. Check the placement. Ensure the zip ties are holding both the shrink tubing, or consider using electrical tape, perhaps more shrink tube. Okay. Yeah, that's something to consider. You want to make sure that you're not chafing your wires. We're gonna zip tie them down the best that we can. I prefer to use the insulation of the wire itself and then just not go too tight on it. So I'll push them up to create a little bit of a service loop to make things flow, and then I'll zip tie them in place. And again, this is another one of those areas I have no way to get a camera in here and show you guys, so you have to just trust what I'm saying. But goes in like so, and then zip tie around. Trying to keep things snug, not too tight. You definitely don't want to chafe. But if things aren't moving as much, then you should be fine. There's nothing to worry about. Need a tool. There we go. I'm just trying to use the tool to push wires where I want them to be so I can zip tie them down. Like that. Make it snug. And then there's a provision for 2 zip ties, and I'm going to take advantage of that. This reinforces the strain relief. And then make sure you cut your zip ties flush. Don't be a monster. Cut your zip ties flush. And not only that, but if you don't do that, you don't cut them flush, you leave a sharp end on there, you're going to reach your hand in here to try to do something one day, and it's going to cut the hell out of you. It used to happen to me all the time on cars working in engines. Whoever at whatever factory didn't do the due diligence to make sure those things were flush, and you reach in there and you get sliced with a zip tie. It's not fun. Don't be that guy or gal. Okay, I'll turn this around so you guys can see what I'm looking at, and then we'll get the wiring done for this guy. Still got to choose where we're going to put the where we're going to get the 5 volt and signal and all that stuff, and then take note of what pin we're pulling signal from so that when we do the config, we can make any changes. And we're definitely going to have changes based on how I have this one wired. It's not exactly any instruction on how to do it per RatRig with the Kraken. They only address the octopus. And so, okay, well, it was a nice thanks, man. I spent a lot of time on it yesterday. A lot of time. Let me fix the camera real fast. Take you back out to a wide shot. Sort of the downside of having only one static camera is I gotta continue to move it, but get you a good picture. That's what we're working with. This is all the wiring we just ran. One thing I like to do is I'll print out the schematic and just tape it to the machine. And that's what you're seeing up here. So I have the schematic up here. I'll take notes on it, so where I plug things in, and then I'll keep this nearby for whatever configuration that we end up doing. And I do the same for the tool heads. So I have a tool head board schematic somewhere, and it's got scribble all over it as well. Sweet. So wiring, I can kind of see and I know where things are. Same for the fans. I took notes on where the fans are. Y and stop is where, in my brain, the Y and stop should be. So I skipped one port here for what I would consider to be the X end stop. If you were looking at a Kraken, I would consider that to be the X end stop. And I put the Y just above it. We do have one more end stop here. If I remember back from the instructions, it told us to put it into the 3rd end stop port from the bottom, which sort of is like a Z, right? So if I think X for the first one, Y for the next one, and we have an end stop in there, then Z would be right above that. And so that's where I'm going to put the end stop on this guy. I need to put the cable in there first. Totally forgot to run that cable too. We never took it out of the bag. This one's definitely going to be too long. I could tell by looking at it. Yeah, one thing RatRig does with their in-stops is they zip tie them in a bundle like that, and then just secure everything with a zip tie. Works, but you got to cut it off of there. There's no easy untwisting it. All right, I'm gonna do that. I did have a label for this. I don't remember where I put it. Actually, no. Oh, here we go. Yes. I do have a label for a ZN stop. We're going to add that on here. I'll probably just tuck this away for later, but I will end up shortening it when I get the bandwidth to do so. I just want to get things on the machine today. Ready to be done with this build. Not that it's not fun, it's been a while. I want to move on to some other things. There's some exciting stuff out there. So I'll ask you guys, what is like the next coolest thing that we're thinking about? What's the next coolest thing that if you could, you know, not considering the money aspect of it, if you could, what would you build right now? What is the exciting thing? As far as I know, there's not a new RatRig anything. They're really focused on their RatRig mill, which I think is pretty cool. But nothing new. What is new? I just used the tweezers to push that pin out, slipped on the label, and then pushed the pin back in the connector. Done. Simple as that to stay organized. And we'll run this through the back panel. Happy says you get an epoxy granite fixed gantry CNC. Wow. Happy, what do you CNC with that? Is this for your panels that you're making for all of us? I wish I can get into CNC. I don't have the space or the skill set. I don't want to learn another thing. Come on. So now there are so many cables in there. Just, oh, you want to do aluminum? Say 300 by 2. Oh, that's not too huge. That's like printer size. How much mess does a CNC make for you? Panel machine is, wow, 1220 by 1220. Need something to press this through. What can I use? Oh, I saw Jeremy and Kilo were building a what's it called? A inertia cube, which is like a Voron derivative, 4XY, all-wheel drive, something. That looks like a cool project. Come on. I'm just trying to finagle the connector through without having to take it off. With all the other connections that we put in there already, the port is getting full of connection. A lot. A lot of dust. Yeah, I can't do that. Not with all these printers around here. That would just contaminate everything. I'd like to see if we can work to get the box turtle to work with your V-Core 4500 in hybrid mode. Not new, but I'd love a Vision Miner 22. That would be cool. I have not seen the Leo i3, so I don't know what that is. But when I see the words i3, that tells me something like a Prusa Mark III, or maybe even like an Ender style. When I see the words i3, don't know what that is. The Leo version of that, but I think it's some derivative of that, right? The 22 IDEX I got to see at Remurf last year. That thing is cool. It's a Core XY that can go to high temp. So if you take away the high temp capabilities of that machine, it would be just like your RatRig for the most part. It's just well insulated and oh, inertial cube. But they're calling it a Leo i3. Yeah, I thought it was called the inertia cube. I didn't know that it was called the Leo i3. But yeah, that one is that's a cool project. I'm looking at that. It would be nice to do some maintenance on some machines here too. I have a few older machines still kicking around. It'd be great to take a look at those and get them back printing again and maybe update them for the times. I'm thinking about my second SK Cube over there. I'm looking at maybe refreshing the thick framed V2 Vivo over there. Just trying to work on getting a zip tie in on the in-stop side of this, on the other side of the machine. But the print doesn't seem to allow a zip tie to go through there. There it goes. Maybe there was an extra string that kind of hung down and was preventing that. But yeah, we got to tie this end stop in place. Give it a little motion prevention there. LDO is making some kits for that. They are. I've heard, like, so Jeremy was talking on stream yesterday for that, and he was saying that they're running into some challenges. You start changing supply chains, it can affect all of us, and especially them. I need to tie that to the rest, but I can do that later. We just won't make things tight today. Kind of get it in place where it needs to be. So for this one, I'm just gonna run it up and over and probably down to where this Y end stop is going to be. So just above that. The wiring, I'm going to leave the same, but that's what I'm talking about, right? So the Y end stop, they told me just to plug it in. They did not give me any instruction on what should be where. For this one though, it did, which is very strange to me. So is this one of those things that I need to change? Do I need to change my Y end stop to matter? So the Z end stop cable, again, it just says plug it in. I'm changing the LED cable, that's fine. So the Z end stop it says just plug it in. But when I do that, you can tell that the wiring is different than it is on the Y end stop that we already have in place. I didn't change this. That's how it's supposed to be, right? So you got red on the inside, black in the middle, white on the outside. If I just plug in this end stop for Z, it's going to be exactly the opposite. So you're going to have white on the inside, red on the outside, and ground in the middle. So which way is correct? I don't know, because the end stops are not labeled with what pin is what. The documentation on the RatRig side of things doesn't tell me what is what. Zims, do you know? I could have totally missed this in the guide, but as far as I know, it does not tell me how the end stops need to be wired. And I'll do whatever needs to be done to swap them around. I mean, common sense tells me that red should be red should be 5 volt and ground should be black. Referencing my schematic up top here, the Y end stop is correct. The Z end stop is backwards, but I don't know if that's true. I mean, the only thing I can think of is to go all the way back to the beginning of this and sort of start from the beginning of wiring. Hybrid motion system, gantry. I want to say it was right here for the x-axis. We did all this, and then it had us put the Y in stop on here. Can you compare with another board to pin out? I could. So this is the Kraken one, and that's what it looks like there, right? So 5-volt on the inside towards the heatsink. That's what we have right now, current in stop. That's why I say I think the Y in stop is wired correctly. As far as wire color goes, I don't know what the in stop itself is saying because there's no what do they call it? Um, when they print on the board, what's it called? Print mask or whatever. That is not printed on the YN stuff. So it doesn't say G or 5-volt or any of that on the in-stop board itself, the PCB. I'm just assuming that red means power. And if that's the case, the Y in stop is correct, and I need to flip the Z in stop. But I don't know that. I'm just looking for some sort of confirmation. And if I compare this with, we had this the other day. Let's see. Octopus, yeah. Pinout diagram. If I compare it with this one for the octopus has the same layout, right? So in stops are down here at the bottom in orange. It says that 5-volt is in the middle. I'm sorry, towards the center of the board. Ground is next, and then signal is towards the outside. That is, again, the exact opposite of the way that the Z in stop is wired. So I believe, without confirmation, that I'm good to just swap the Z wiring side to side. Trying to get back to where it mentions install the Y in stop on the frame. Maybe it is up here in step 4. I just really want to make sure that we get it right. I don't want to break an in stop and have to wait weeks to get a new one or anything like that. So not in step 4 either. Yeah, sorry guys, I'm just trying to be careful here. Is it on the Z assembly then? Some of this stuff just doesn't flow in a natural way to remember where things were placed. You break one, I'll send you one. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I don't want to break it though. That's the thing. I don't want to break it. You're also in Cali? Yeah, we're out in Cali. Like general area, you don't have to give me your address. Please don't give me your address. But if you're pretty close, maybe we can meet up sometime and talk printer stuff. Yeah, I am not seeing where the Y in stop is supposed to be. Oh, SAC? Okay. So that's like 6-7 hours from me. I'm down near Palmdale, Lancaster. See you real soon. Yeah, I'll be at Remurf. I will see you soon. Where do they do Y in stops in this thing? That is so wild. Yeah, I didn't do any of this bed stuff either because it told me not to. Is it in Toolhead? I mean, maybe. 45-minute flight. We can get cheap flights anymore. Yeah, it's better just to drive, I think. I'm just right now, I'm just trying to find out where the hell they talk about a Y in stop. All of the guides talk about everything else, nothing for Y in stop. So maybe it's just in the electronics. Yeah, so this is the only thing that I see about wiring whatsoever is these initial parts. Some things are called out on a board, but it is for the octopus. So this configuration does not apply. This configuration does, and it's the same. This one does not apply. And then we get into kind of where we left off a week ago with wiring and whatever. It's already installed on the machine. We get into this sort of wiring here. We did some of this on stream. I gave you the concepts, and then we called it so that I could just focus on getting it done and making it clean. So that's what I did yesterday. And here's your Y in stop, right? The Y in stop, I didn't change anything here. And so looking at this, is red voltage? I'm guessing yes, but I don't know that. And the board isn't labeled. And if I look at my Z in stop on the machine itself, it is exactly opposite at both the in stop side and at the board side. The wiring is exactly opposite. So in that case, the red and the white are swapped compared to the wiring on the what's it called? The Y in stop. Because I can see both by standing next to the printer. Yeah, Y in stop has just like the photo. Z in stop is the opposite. So should I swap red and white? You have to spare in stops on the Minion. No, so the Minion uses different in stops. And the 300 kit may. I mean, I do have one spare in that additional VAOC kit that I got. There is a spare in stop in here, but again, it is not labeled with. Here, I'll take it out of here and show you. It's not labeled with what pin is what. I'll get you back to the overhead. All it tells me is the revision of the in stop. It doesn't tell me what is what. It's just weird that one in stop is wired one way, the other in stop is wired a different way. They should technically be the same. And then if I look at the tool head itself, that is wired. The X in stops are wired like the Y in stops, in that the 5-volt is toward the right. So this is what I'm going to do because I don't want to waste any more time on this. The Z in stop is wrong. The other three in stops are pinned like this one here. The Z in stop is not. I'm going to swap the Z in stop around and just fix it to be how I think it should be. And if that means we explode something, then I mean, it's the cost of science. So I just need to depin on the printer side, and we'll come back around to the board side of things. So I'm depinning on both ends because I want red to be power. Because when I forget how we wired this in 3 months, I don't want to be guessing. So I'm going to try to keep things consistent. Red being voltage is kind of a universal standard. So we're gonna force that standard by swapping these pins. And then when I connect on the board side, it should feed what we want to the place that we want. It just makes no sense that white would be voltage. Okay, so that is, those pins are swapped around. We're gonna do the same over here. It's a 1-to-1 cable. Coloring do not matter, but in your OCD it was. I don't think it's a 1-to-1 cable. It's a 3-pin. So it does matter for these. Because you have you would be sending 5-volt to your signal line or your ground line. And I guess if you get the ground and voltage backwards, it probably wouldn't matter, it just wouldn't work. And then you have to swap it, so you'd be chasing gremlins. I don't know that swapping the signal in 5-volt is okay though. I don't know if that destroys anything or not. So maybe I'm making a big deal out of nothing, but to me it matters. Yeah, so 5-volt, yeah, those need to swap. Oh, and hey, You'll Print Things. I don't know that we've seen you here before. Thanks for coming in the stream. Make sure to like the stream and subscribe if you would. That would be great to help out the channel. We are already at over 2 hours, folks. That's crazy. I feel like we didn't do anything yet. We just got an overview and the VAOC and stuff. Definitely much slower progress while streaming. I hear that a lot when folks say that on stream. I didn't really think about it until I started streaming and building, and now it's just everything takes forever. Like I can imagine trying to stream the amount of wiring I did yesterday. It would take us like 3 weeks to get through. Okay, so now it matches like the other one. Which makes me feel better at least. And we'll deal with the wiring side of that later, because I'm going to cut that and we'll probably come underneath here. I'll tuck that away sort of like this, and then that'll come up and plug in right above, put this in the correct spot, right above the Z, or sorry, the Y in stop there. Like that. So we can cut basically all of that out of there. And then what do we have left? We have a fan, and we have a 5-volt and signal that needs to go to an LED board. I'll have to figure that one out. All right, so fan ports on this one are all the same as the Octopus. So I have my part cooling fans here. They are in the final 1 and 2 last 2-pin ports. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So they're in fan port 4 and 5. I'm going to put this one in fan port 3. Wiring is already correct for the board, so I don't need to make any changes there. I do need to move some stuff out of the way. It's starting to get tight. We'll put that one in there. I'll make a label for that. Last one here is this guy. This is for that LED board that we have. BRB burrito time, big bag. I'm dying. That's good. I'm loving that. Okay, and then this one we can just kind of plug in wherever. Doesn't necessarily matter. It's just a USB. So because that one is a little difficult to get to on that end over there, you can sort of barely see it. Move this camera. I would want to put that right there. It's a little tight to get it in there. We could force that but I'm gonna clean it up anyway. So I'm just gonna go on this side here. We use that last available USB-A port there. This guy, we'll have to figure out a place for it to go. So looking at my schematic for the Kraken, so this wiring will keep that same concept. On the Octopus, it's going to that port. So let's see if we can find something equivalent. It would be this, what is that? Lavender, I guess, port is what that looks like to me. Lavender port right here. So if I'm looking at it right, these are all the fan ports. The very last fan port, there's a 3-pin connection. So these are the fan ports. Right there's a 3-pin connection. That is the power detection port, giving, looks like 3.3 volts. So less than what it's telling us we need. But I also do not want to use an RGB port. Because that is the blue one there. That would give us the 5 volt. I mean, I think I'm looking at that correctly. Or no, it is, yeah, so they want us to use an RGB port. It looks a little different in this photo, but it's one of the two, and the power detection doesn't necessarily make sense to me. Yeah, so we'll use an RGB port on the Kraken. And the cool thing about this board is there are 2 ports for RGB. You've got one here, and then one right next to it. So up against the heatsink, sort of in the center of the board there. We've got that. We could also use this servo motor port, I suppose, and just pull it high all the time. But that would be, I guess it's possible to do that. I'd prefer to do that, I think. And that way we could pull it high when we're using the VAOC. And then when we're not, and that part is disabled, then we could just turn that off and unpower that LED. That way it's not on all the time. I think that makes sense. And I also know that I probably want to use those RGB ports for actual RGB. So that's what we're going to do. With the board and the orientation I have it, that 5 volt line should be at the top, ground in the center, and signal at the bottom. This is the incorrect connector for that port though. Plug this, it got wrapped. Do like that. Declutter some of that. All right. All right, this is the port we're going to use right there. I think that's right. And then we said 5 volts on top, grounds in the middle. We're going to use this little guy. I'm going to put an actual connector on here, so we're going to trim this. This will probably be the only one we trim to length right now. What is this? Don't want to cut it too short, so I'm just move the arm to the bottom to make sure we have the appropriate amount of slack on all of these cables. I'm just pushing that bed arm to the bottom there. I say pushing, but I mean like screwing the lead screw down to the very bottom. That way it's at full travel. And then I'll know how much slack to bring in here. Okay, if I do it that way, that should all be enough. I just wish there was like another, I don't know, tie down point up top to keep this stuff loose. I may design something that bolts to that internal extrusion. And I'm seeing a light on the board. That's interesting. I wonder if turning that motor generated a little bit of power. It'll fade off. guess. But anyway, so that goes there. It'll come across. I'm gonna tuck it into that little bit of a channel. It'll come up to here, and then we'll make the cut about right there. Just double checking to make sure wire length is appropriate, and I don't need any additional. I got burned on that yesterday. I'm not trying to repeat my mistakes. Maybe just a little bit more. Make myself feel good. Do it like that, and then we'll make the cut right there. I'm not keeping extra wire. I have enough already in the wire bin, and that thing just keeps growing. So doing it that way, we'll bring the tools over here. We'll do this. I'll try to catch up with you all on what's going on. Done so much of this in the last 24 hours. I'm so sick of wiring anything anymore. Come on. Just like stripping the insulation off. It's not removing it. There we go. That, and then we need some connections. Cool thing with the Kraken board, it comes with black connectors. I think a majority of the BIGTREETECH boards come with black connections nowadays. This is the collection of things that are for this printer. So you have in here 2 of the EBB42 board connections. These are spares in here. And then you have stuff for the board itself. Also spares in here. It's a lot. So I guess that's a good thing to know that you have enough stuff to do additional projects if you need to. One thing I didn't anticipate was the connection for the motors. They use this much larger, very beefy connection. And so your traditional motor wire connectors, the JST connections, are not going to work out. You will have to strip and crimp the motor wires for the Kraken to accommodate those larger connections. I would venture to guess those are to handle higher voltages and thicker wires for servo motors or something. It's not what we're doing here. Beefy connections, 48 volts. Yeah, but the Manta is also 48 volt tolerant, and it does not use such large connections. My guess is for thicker wire. You could use a, hell, maybe like a 20 gauge, 18 gauge on there, instead of whatever the connections are here. But I had to cut and crimp X, Y, or sorry, motor 1, 2, 3, and 4 all use those big connections. You can tell by the big caps installed next to them. These up here use the normal connections, so I didn't do anything for Z. This is different trying to do this on the printer. I normally try to avoid it. It's not as convenient. Could have seen, like, I had my head inside the printer yesterday wiring up those tool heads. I tried to wire as much as I could with the tool head board removed from the printer, and at some point you got to sort of put it back in place to measure out your lengths so you don't end up with too short or too long or whatever. And we ended up getting it, but that was probably the most tedious part of the wiring on this thing, was getting the tool head board connections, and then you're doing it twice, trying to keep it neat and tidy as possible because you have 2 moving around in there. You want to have room for everything. All right. That guy in there. Probably make a quick set of labels for this so that I can remember what these actually are. We'll just label this the VAOC, and then I need probably another one for that fan, so we'll call it VAOC fan for that guy. Z and stop, we have the label for that, and then I have not been labeling the USB connections. I plan to just use normal tape and create like little flags that go on that, or I could just use a Sharpie and write on there. That would be an option as well. Just the two labels. Oh no, I still have the old tape in here. Like I got the gigantic tape in here. Come on. I could tell it's one of those days. Did not sleep enough last night for sure. For sure. And then did not have a peaceful day yesterday either. It was more of a out here in the garage all day. What you want to have is the 5.8 millimeter, not the 12 millimeter. Come on. This is the one you want. Not this guy. Mistake number one. All right, so VAOC and then VAOC. That's exactly why I label things, because I know that I will forget what is what. I forgot that I had put the big tape in there to accommodate some of the bigger wiring that I did. What was it? Oh, the Pi Power wire label that we made. There's 5 wires in there and the smaller stuff wouldn't work, so I needed to use the larger stuff. And forgot that I still had it installed. That's okay. What is the cost of this stuff anyway? $80. Okay. New labels. Should be good to go. Trim down some of the excess here. I'm gonna make myself. There we go. So we have just the VAOC label. And I probably should have put this label on there before I put the crimps on there because it makes things tighter. But you should still be able to get at least 2 of these wires through there. Maybe not all 3 because of how tight it is. We can definitely get 2 through there pretty easily. Try for a third, there may be some space for that. Yeah, I can kind of niggle that through there. There we go. Yeah, so I could get all 3 through there with the crimps on by the skin of my teeth. So that's that. We need a 3-pin connection like this one. Love that they're all black. They sort of disappear into oblivion when you do that. So the retaining clip portion of it goes towards the heatsink this way. I'm just making sure that's correct. Yep. And we said that ground was up top. Doing that. And then, sorry, not ground. Power was up top. Ground was in the middle. And you had signal at the bottom. Did you go in right? There you go. Nope. The little tab on there is depressed. So I like to just use my tweezers and pull that tab up a little bit. And that'll allow it to clip in like it should. And you might have to do the same thing if you ever depin and try to reinstall it. You may have to lift up that little thing again. We'll do that. We'll add a touch of heat to shrink that tube down just a little bit. Like that. And then this connection should be able to go where it needs to go here. And then we'll put that down below where we said it should be. Sort of right in that little pocket below the heatsink. And under the motor wire on this side. Like that. And that's how we're going to keep that clean. I'll take a note. We used, what pin was that? Where's my pen? I need to write things. We said that would be pin number, I already forgot. Oh, up top. PE7 for the servo motor. So just make a note on the thing. So the VAOC is PE7. PE7. And draw over. Cool. That's the nice thing about having your schematic nearby the machine, is you can take those quick notes on where you plug things in and then use that as your cheat sheet when you configure your clipper install. Okay, where are we at? I don't even remember anymore. We have things plugged in. We're doing this IDEX stuff. That is what I did. So camera cable to any available USB port, did it. LED as shown, just finished that one. Z and stop is where I think Z should be and wired the way I think it should be. Sure. Fan cable into the 4th fan slot as shown. Okay. I put mine in a different place, but it should be fine. It happens to be number 4. Comments here say the things they said, and we're done. So that's all of the accessories for IDEX then. It doesn't drive me to go to a different guide. So this should be the end of that. I can close this tab. Yeah, I did all these ooze guards and everything else earlier. Okay, we have to go back to where we were. So that should be everything, folks. I feel like I should assemble the bed now because I need that for the commissioning side of things. Bring this over. So right here is the next thing we'll be doing. It says, make sure the mechanical assembly is good to go. Configuration, we may need to revisit again. I did find hey Jerry, I did find a EBB42 that has the 1.2, so it matches the other board. We have matching tool head boards now. So I think I need to go back and make sure that the T0 is the correct configuration. We'll probably have to go into the configurator and finish that. We've done all of this. Yeah, we've done the updating, and we'll have to get through some of this config stuff. Sure, IDEX. Commissioning. Can we just skip to the commissioning? Sanity checks. Yeah, okay. So yeah, to do that, we'll have to revisit the configuration. But I believe I need a bed because there's some build plate prep in here that it has me do. And I think I need a build plate for that because I want to say it has us run calibration and everything to determine whether or not the frame is twisted. And that's what you're seeing here. That is what a twisted frame would show us. But I need a bed in place to do that. And then there's some adjustment that we can make, assuming things are out of whack. Hopefully they're good. We took our time. It took 4 hours to build the frame. So. But yeah, we would just loosen things, tap it up or down, retighten. And then we add a heater pad and all the rest of the stuff. That cover's not going to go on. All right, so let's build a bed. And then we'll see how far we get. We're getting pretty close to the 3-hour mark. So maybe configuration is next week, unfortunately, guys. How about this? If we can make it work, we'll do a Saturday stream. Keep in mind that next weekend is Mother's Day weekend. So If there is a Sunday stream, we will potentially have 2 streams. If not, we'll just do our 1 stream either Saturday or Sunday, depending on what my wife decides we're going to do for Sunday. But we'll do the bed real quick and get that on, and we'll take the beauty shot of what it looks like installed. So let's get some more stuff, some more parts, some more assembling of things. I'm excited for that. I've already opened this box because it tells you to plug in the bed heater so you don't get thermistor errors and things like that. Good day. Good day. I know that we're not going to put the sticker on the magnetic portion of that or anything. This is, what is this? Pretty beefy. It's like, it's not straight up magnet. It feels like there's like a build tack type thing on top of here. And then you get a black plate, which is really nice, double-sided, textured PEI. So really stoked about seeing that. We'll put that to the side for now. What else is in here? This is the bed. Pretty protected. Get rid of some cardboard. Pretty beefy. Looks like 6mm. So I've had this in a box. It's got delivered to me from Spain, or sorry, Portugal. And then went through US shipping and their problems and how they treat stuff. And then it moved with me from Oklahoma to California. It's been through a lot and it still looks fine. We'll see how flat it is. Believe they have those problems worked out. The V-Core 3, when it first came out, had some issues with some beds that were not as straight as they should be. This one is 6mm thick, 300 bed. I can imagine what a 500 would look like, right? Like, I don't even have a plate for a 500, but here's the H2D. It's a 350. This is compared to a 350 bed. We do it this way. That's how much bigger a 350 would be. And if you could, you know, sort of imagine what a 500 would be, that slab of aluminum. Kill somebody. Looks like cast, should be flat. Yeah, I agree with you. It looks like cast. I do see machining marks on it. I don't know how well that's showing up on your camera there, but I can see machining marks across there. And I like that it has the covering on it. Helps us to not scrape up too many things. You guys can see the instructions in the top corner there. Tooling plate is what it is. Tooling plate, okay. Yeah, maybe tooling plate is flat enough. You guys can see the instructions in the top, so I'm not going to swap. I'm just going to keep it up for me so I can see what's going on. This is our build plate. Officially, it says that it is. Holy Christmas. Dropping things all over the place. Officially, it says that it's 329 by 329. So we should have some overrun on either side, front and back. I do have spacers and aluminum balls, or sorry, steel balls. To prevent scratches, you have the protective film. Cool. Gently peel off the protective film. Repeat for the other side. Let's see. Magnetic sheet and heater pad will be installed later. So then why would I remove it? I don't know. I'm going to have to clean this anyway. Something I do is I clean the bed and I hit it with steel wool to sort of scuff it up. That is beautiful. Man, I gotta take a photo of that. That is absolutely beautiful. Post that later. Wait, that is nice. We haven't abused it yet. I'm going to leave the backside on. I don't see any reason to take that off right now. I can do that later. But normally I will scuff this up with some steel wool and then wipe it down with IPA until that towel is absolutely clean. There is no residue or anything left on here. I can already see fingerprints and a scuff sort of that way. So we will definitely need to clean the plate. One of the things it tells us to worry about in the manual is you have 7 threaded holes and 1 countersink hole. And then you have 4 countersink holes for the 300. This is a 300. The countersink holes it's telling us about, I believe, are these here on the back side. So these 4 holes right here look to be countersunk holes. Or no, actually, this is the back side. And it's different. Sorry. My bed looks different than the photo. I wonder if that's going to be an issue. Anyway, we have the 3 countersink holes here for the bed balls, and that makes sense. And there are additional holes. Supposed to be, it looks like 2 additional holes here for the 300 and another additional hole here, but those are not in place. Several wipes with IPA. Yeah, I agree with you. Certainly no need for any steel wooling, just clean it. Tommy, I disagree, man. I always steel wool it to add texture to the plate so that any magnet or heater that you're applying to the plate has something mechanical to grab onto. So I'm like Jeremy. I always clean it with IPA and always use steel wool. So I'll IPA first, steel wool, and then IPA again is how I do it. Is it necessary? I think so. If you can prove another way that it is unnecessary, I'm still going to do it. So it is what it is. All right. Where are the hardware for this? Let me find some hardware, guys. Got it somewhere. Let's see. Is it in my little tray of things and stuff? We're looking for M4x6 cap head screws and M4x12 countersink. There's the steel balls. Definitely need that. Interesting. Trying to find out where that stuff went. Another day, more missing hardware. I got one more box of hardware. I see countersink. See 1 cap head screw. See some M6 hardware. I am not seeing any other. Well, let's see what we got. I found this as far as hardware, but not exactly. I've got the 1 screw M4x12 countersink screw in the available countersunk hole at the rear. I don't know what they're talking about. Let's go back to the hardware page here. If you have built 500 size, it's not needed, just placebo effect thing. But what do I know or care? Tell me, yeah, it could be placebo. I'm gonna do it for the insurance. It takes me very little time. And the mechanical grab, I know, is a thing when I'm painting something. Paint can flake over time if you don't prep the surface. I take the same mindset for stickers going to a plate. Pulled off a 200 size heater and believe you was stuck proper. I believe you. But for how long? We don't know. So again, it's just insurance, right? Taking the extra little bit of time to make sure that things are done very well. And if I'm going to take something like 80 hours now to build this thing, what's another 5 minutes to clean and stuff the plate? All right, so we got the steel ball, we got the plate. We have M5 by 25. M4 nylock nuts are somewhere. I've got some. So if I don't find the ones they intend, I can come back. Man, where is my hardware? Yeah, so moving things around, I had pretty much everything in one box just to make sure I didn't misplace it or throw it away or anything like that. But I am not seeing the stuff that they are telling me I need. Like at all. And there's not a bag necessarily that says bed hardware on it. So I wonder what I should be doing then. Get the lock nuts. You know what? I'll just pull the rest of this random stuff out of here. Maybe we need it, maybe we don't. All right, but I found, here's the lock nut. And here's a pair of countersink screws. We'll see how we go. The dog points I have right here in the tray. Those. And then M4 by 6 cap head screw. That would be that guy right there. This. Nuts. Countersinks. And 6 aluminum spacers. 6 aluminum spacers. Those are these guys right here. All right, that should be the hardware. My bed plate is different though. It's not drilled the same way as it is in the photo. But I know that it told me to turn this upside down, so we'll do that. Turn it upside down. Maybe that's why they want us to pull it off the back as well, so that the hardware doesn't get trapped under or trap this protective film on top. Stay. Keeps wanting to jump off the table. You guys seeing that? All right. Done. All right, first things first, it tells us to put this countersink screw into this 4th hole here. Sorry, cap head screw, not countersink. What am I talking about? So this guy will go in there. I'm just going to loosely thread that in. I imagine that is for a grounding wire. I hope that's for a grounding wire. And then it has us flip it over and do M4 by 12 countersink screw in the bit. What is that talking about? That's not even mentioned. So if I look at the instructions, it's telling me to install an M4 by 12 countersink screw in the available countersunk hole at the rear. I don't have that. It's not a countersunk hole at the rear. It's a normal hole, all of them at the rear. And the picture doesn't. So all these holes here, these are normal holes. These are not countersunk at all. And the picture in the instructions, I can't tell if it's this corner or this corner. Regardless, there's no countersunk hole. See what the comments have to say. There's no green arrow indicating where it should go. That's exactly what I'm saying. Thinking it is only for the 300 size based on the picture. Images and description don't fit. That's as of April and February of this year, and there were no fixes to that. So that seems to be another error for RatRig here. This one. What am I looking at? Oh, these must be like bed pins to keep the bed plate from falling off the back of the machine. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So that's what these dog point screws are for. Sorry guys, I'm figuring this out as I go here. I did not pre-game at all. You guys are learning live with me. We have these two dog point, what they're calling dog point set screws. And on here, there's sort of a flat side with no threading. And then you have another side that is fully threaded with a Allen key sort of hole there. These are M4 cut. They go into the holes here. It's got us putting the pins on the two outer holes of the plate with the unthreaded part going through to the other side. The thread pin shouldn't be visible from the top of the bed plate. Okay. I'm just putting that in a few turns. And I'll blow up the photo and show you what I'm looking at here as soon as we get this done. So that's on there, and then it has us doing the lock screw, or sorry, the lock nut on the back of this to keep it in place. So I'm just going to thread that one on there loosely as well. And we'll have to adjust this here in a second. We'll do it that way, get that to where it needs to be. And then looking at the front, you can see that they're kind of poking out. That's not what we want. If I blow up this photo and take you guys to Chrome, you'll see what I'm looking at here a little closer. So we want the pin where just the head of that, just enough, is sticking out the top. You don't want any thread part of it showing like that. So we'll adjust that and then tighten down the lock nut to ensure that things stay where they should stay. And again, I'm noticing in this photo, there is no countersunk hole here or additional screw that was mentioned in the previous step. So I do believe that to be an error in the manual. Hold the nut and pliers and thread the dog point with its socket leading towards the non-locking side until about 4 millimeter protrude. Then thread this assembly in from the bottom of the steel bed opposite side, and then adjust the dog point position relative to the nut so that it only protrudes. Okay. I think that's kind of a shortcut. It's trying to teach me a shortcut here. Let's think. Hold the nut and pliers and thread it through counterclockwise with its socket leaning towards the non-locking side. What are we saying? Some of these descriptions are crazy to me. I think I know what they mean, but I have no way to understand what they're trying to say. I think what they're saying is to take the dog set screw out of there and then put this locking nut on. Wants me to hold this with pliers and then tighten the, grab some pliers. Wants me to hold this with pliers and then tighten the set screw until I can have a certain amount sticking out and then stick it back through the bed. All right, so this is going to be, so it wants me to hold this like that and then use the tool counterclockwise to bring that, let me get you in frame here, sorry, to bring that through until about 4 millimeters protrudes from the nylon locking side. So until about 4 millimeters comes through this end here, I'm going to call that good. And then it says, take this little assembly that we just made and put that back through the hole. and thread that in until you get, what's it say? So that only it protrudes from the top side when the nut is tightened down well at the bottom. So yeah, so thread that through until we get just flush, no threads above the plate. Just flush like that. And then from here, I should be able to, again, hold this nut in place and sort of tighten that around. I think I'm gonna use a different tool. I'm gonna use an actual wrench on this one. I have one that's an 8 on one side and a 10 on the other, and that's too big. So got a 7. 7 seems to work. I'm just gonna put that in flush, and I'm gonna tighten this down counterclockwise to bring the other dog point down the plate, so only the top part is sticking out. So that has the double effect of tighten the nut while bringing the dog point down, and that should be tight there. I just need to do that once more on this side. So again, we'll remove this. And then hold the nut here, tighten this down so we get a few millimeters sticking out. Got a drawer full of throwaways. You keep what? I missed it, Happy. What do you keep? Here. Just tighten that in. We'll do the same procedure that we did before because that is a little bit too low. We'll do it that way. And then because we need to go and make the pin stick out more, I need to reduce the nut while tightening the dog point. So we are just flush. And once we are, I can tighten that down. Like so. Like that. Sweet. Just make sure the other one is tight. We don't want that coming out. Cool. That is those installed. Those instructions are helpful, but a little bit confusing. Laser cut tools. Yeah, this guy, I don't even know where I got this from. This came from one of the printer kits. It's the only 7mm sort of like hex wrench thing I have. So only good for M4 nuts and nylox. But then there's a 5, a 5.5, and a 3/16. I have no idea which printer this came with. I usually throw them all away. This is the only one I've kept. Between that and the double-ended crescent that I have, that's really all I need. So I don't keep the other ones. The ones that used to come with nozzles and whatnot, the V6 nozzles, I just toss now. I don't really keep those. So that's the bed. Next thing we need to do is install our balls here. So we'll get that installed. We'll get the bed on the machine. We'll give you a beauty shot and shut down the stream from there. We'll get to configuration on the next one. Sorry, guys. I thought we were going to get there today. Things got a little more complicated than I anticipated. But we'll get through a significant portion of configuration next time. So we get the balls out. We need 2 spacers per arm, I guess is what I would call it. I don't know. Ball? Standoff? Something? He was talking about the stud with the nut. Oh, gotcha. Okay. We got these, and then we're using the M5x25s to go through here. So I'm gonna try to do this one-handed. These are the really nasty nuts, though. So, you know, like the bag is just gross and covered with oil. I'm gonna use a towel to clean that a little bit. those are an oily mess. Just sort of like wipe those down. Try to get some of that old packing oil off of there. Look at that. It's just from wiping this. Filthy. This is why I don't like the black oxide hardware. It just comes out so dirty. You can see it after you start assembling things. It comes off on your fingertips, comes off on your hands. It's really kind of nasty. But whatever. That's that. So these are pretty self-explanatory. You got the countersunk drilled holes, bolt goes through, and you got to do your best to sort of balance the board or the build plate while you are putting on spacers here, like that. And you're gonna do a second one like that, and then the ball goes on here. The question is, how do you tighten the ball? Your grip strength is only so strong, and do you Loctite it? I don't know. What I'm going to do though is find the right tool and tighten it down. I believe that's going to be a 3mm. Yes. Yeah, so just give that as much of a tighten and hold it as best I can. I'm afraid if you put pliers on there, you're going to mar up the surface or whatever. So probably don't do that. We want the build to be nice. And just rinse and repeat a few more times to get what you want. Screw, spacer, spacer, and ball. Oh no, dropped my balls. That, and then same procedure. Do my best to hold that guy while we apply some torque to the screw. And that should be fine. If that ever loosens, we'll put some blue Loctite on it. And then last one here, same procedure. Okay, so that should be good. And that should settle us for what we need as far as build plate. Don't need you right now. Let's get out of here. All right. Let's see what we got, how far we are. So we did that for all three, good to go. And then we're just dropping this into the machine itself. I don't have the little cups. We are using the magnets and whatnot that came with the bed arms. And then yeah, I am almost ready to print. We've already done all the rest of this stuff, so I'm going to skip all of that and probably go to commissioning on the next bit, and we'll get all into firmware. I'll make sure that we are absolutely ready for firmware on the next one. Okay, so get you back to the machine. We'll flip this guy around, install that, kind of get a beauty shot of what's going on, and then we'll call the stream. You guys have comments, questions about the build or what's next or any of that stuff, now is the time to shout it out, because here pretty soon we're gonna shut her down. It's like a 3-point turn every time you're trying to get this thing to move. Cool. Still hanging off. Whew. All right. So gonna bring the camera out, and then bed arm up. Try to get these kind of level, kind of where we want them to be. You can sort of see the mod that I did here by adding a couple of Wago points there. That's to account for the thermistor wire, the bed wire, and the what is it? The fuse. And that word escapes me. The fuse that we're going to install to cut power if things overheat. It doesn't call that out anywhere in the build whatsoever that I could tell. But I haven't been 100% through the manual yet either. There's still a lot I haven't gotten through. Thanks, Luke. Looking really nice. We're trying to get it there. Doing the bed right now. We still have to do config is next. We are nearly there. Next stream will be configuration. Whatever it is, we will get through as much as possible, which means it'll probably be a little bit of a longer stream on the next one. You need fan duct classes in Fusion. You and me both, Happy. I saw that Heart K had a decent look at what that would be. I saw him post something on Twitter a while ago. It's not recent. A while ago about how he does fan ducts. I thought that was a pretty cool technique. I'll try to get it roughly level. But yeah, there's a bed. If you got the stock KI heater, the Knievel heater comes with thermal. I think you mean Knievo. And I've got not a Knievo. I've got this one here. This is the one that it came with. Knievo, 157, 120 volt, 600 watt. It's got the thermistor. It's got the heater. I don't see a fuse. Yeah, so I don't see a fuse on here. And so what I'm going to do anyway, if it's built in, the white thing is a fuse. What white thing? There's no white thing. White wire? That's the bed wire, isn't it? Oh, I see what you're saying. So this part, under this tape is the fuse. I see. Got it. Thank you for the clarification. That makes sense to me. Did not know that. So then why did it have me put the extra thing in there? Is that for a ground wire? Because it doesn't talk about it. Thermal fuse. Yep. Words are hard. It's getting late in the stream. Right. Bed is on as directed. Done with all of that. But again, it doesn't talk about where to do any of that stuff. Maybe in here. That's more for the 400 and 500s with the 1000, and so it's just extra safety. I would agree with that. I don't know where it build plate prep. I don't know where it tells me that I should be connecting all these things or how to wire the bed at all. It doesn't really cover it. It tells me to plug it in. I don't see any connections to an SSR or really any of that. I don't see a grounding wire. A little odd that it wouldn't mention that. Even in bed assembly, like I would think it'd be in here, but it's not. It just tells me to press on with, my particular machine. So did that one, did that one, did that one. Not in the electronics. So at what point do I put the bed on, Anyway, we'll deal with that. I know what needs to happen, so it'll happen. And then we'll get into configuration on the next week, I believe. You have to validate gantry movement during the commissioning process before attaching the bed. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I remember you saying that on one of your streams. And I remember reading that weeks ago when we were looking at the manual last time. So I'll get to it. I know in my mind when these happen, I've built several printers before, so not really worried about that one. But it looks really good. It's a lot of aluminum shiny on there. Sorry we couldn't get to making friends with firmware and making things move, but for sure on the next one. We will stream until it happens on the next one. I promise you all we will get there. Felt really weird compared to the Vorons. You are correct, sir. It is definitely a different kind of build. So I want to say thanks to all 21 of you hanging out for more than 3 hours on a Sunday with us. Zims, I appreciate you as well. PD3D, thanks for the tips and kind of guiding some of the more tedious places that didn't make sense. And for all the rest of you, thanks for just lurking or participating or whatever it is that you were here for. You guys are definitely appreciated. We'll be back same time next week. I need to determine whether or not it's Saturday, but right now it is Sunday until I am told otherwise. All right. So we'll see you guys next week, if not Saturday and Sunday. So I'll put that out there on the socials and on the channel in a post if we go 2 streams or 1 stream. All right. So thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your days, and may the 4th be with you.